And we're back with some more Czeching Lions franchise mode. And in this one, well, let me tell you, we have quite the situation going on here that I didn't even realize at the end of the last episode. So as we go and check out our current situation with the standings, it's very unlikely that we will be making the playoffs. We are currently in 7th. We are 11 points back in the 5th place Lightning, especially with how competitive the top half of that division is with the Maple Leafs, Senators, Sabres, Panthers, and Lightning. They have 40, 39, 38, 37 wins. We have 27. No chance we're catching them. I mean, we're obviously not mathematically eliminated yet, but the chances of us getting into a spot with all those teams ahead of us and with all of them doing that well, it's not happening. So that's 2 years in a row of no playoffs, essentially. So I think, honestly, that would be a good opportunity to start selling off guys like Brady Shea, Jake McCabe, possibly. Maybe even guys like Nemesnikov, Janssen, Palat. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying full-blown rebuild here because we do have some really good assets in place. We have Aronson, we have Danielson, we have Rosehill, we have Stillman on the back end. But the problem with our defense is that Stillman's basically the only one who I would consider a long-term fixture on this defensive core. Shea, he's not going to be here by the end of the GM mode, even if we do keep him past this year, which he does want to re-sign, but still, he's heading into his 30-year-old season, and once again, we haven't made the playoffs in the past 2 seasons, so it's not a stretch to say that maybe we should consider trading guys like him. Larson, I think we could keep. He's young enough still. But then you also have guys like Yandel, who's 37, Keith, who's 40, Cal Foote, who hasn't lived up to his potential. So really, our defensive core is looking pretty weak. And then obviously you have Bentley in the minors, which hoping for pretty good things from him, because if we take a look at him, he almost has 30 points already on the season as an enforcer defenseman, plus 27. This guy's a beast down here in the AHL. My concern with Bentley is I'm not sure if this is going to translate to the NHL or not. And he's great with the giveaways and takeaways too. 31 takeaways to 38 giveaways. I mean, that's phenomenal. 124 hits. He looks like a beast down there in the AHL. But once again, I'm just not sure how that's going to translate. So I can't bank on him being a long-term fixture, you know? And then with Lambos, he's already 21 years of age, only 74 overall. I'm not sure if he's going to hit his ceiling with that medium elite. He might end up being, I'm going to say, he'll top off around an 84, 85. So when you look at the big picture, we really don't have much to work with on defense. But the real problem, comes with Alexander Wennberg. Now, he's obviously our leading point getter this year. I would love to keep him on board if we could. But the problem is, well, at the beginning of the season, he wanted $9 million. And even though he didn't want to re-sign, I was perfectly okay with giving him that. But now that he's having a great season, he wants $14.6 million. No way is that happening. I'm sorry, that's just, he's out of his mind. I'm not paying him that much money for a season where, I mean, he's been great, obviously, this season. But last year, of course, he sort of fell off the tracks a little bit from where he had been at year number 2. So he hasn't really proven himself to be a consistent elite player to justify that 14.6 per year. And not only that, but he doesn't want to re-sign. So we're going to have to pay him even more money than what he wants. That's $15 million down the drain. I'm sorry. I'm not paying $15 million for a player like Wennberg. I'm just not. It's too much. The main thing for me is that he is not consistent with his point totals so far over the course of the time that he's been here. So let's say if he had 80 points last year, then maybe I would have considered it. But he's 29 already. He has the exact top 6. So that means when he's on the wrong side of his prime, he's going to start dropping even faster than he would have if he had the medium, if he had the exact elite. He's not worth it. Now, Aronson is worth it because he only wants $8 million for 3 years. He's 22 and he's proven himself to have a very good goal-scoring touch. Now, obviously, he had a down year last year, too. But, once again, the key for him is that he's young, and I see him as part of the future. Wennberg is 7 years older. I don't see that with him. I don't think he'll be around for the entire GM mode, even if we did re-sign him. So, if there's one thing that I am doing in this episode, it is trading Alexander Wennberg, because that is just ridiculous. And you can guarantee that I'm not about to let a valuable asset like Wennberg just walk off during the offseason. That is absolutely not happening, especially in a losing season, right? It doesn't make sense to hold on to him just to have a chance at re-signing him in the re-sign stage, because I know that he might drop his price between now and the re-sign stage, but I'm not going to take that chance, especially on a player, once again, as valuable as him. So I think he just needs to go. And when you take a look at his trade value, we could get something really good back from him. We really could. He's got a lot of trade value, and I would really rather that trade value not be completely diminished by a $15 million deal. Even at 1 year, that would just completely deplete his trade value. I mean, once again, it'd be a different story if he had actually produced a point per game last year, and if we were in the playoffs this year, then no, I definitely wouldn't trade him if that were the case, but it's not. And that's just, I'm sorry, that's an absurd amount of money that I'm not willing to pay. I would rather trade him for another draft pick and just secure our future even more, because obviously we do have a lot of assets, especially at forward. But when you take a look at our defense, once again, there's not much that's there. So I really want to try to improve our defensive core through the draft over the next couple of years. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to see what the general gauge is on Wennberg, to see how valuable he is to other teams, and what teams want him. So Colorado, you have Vancouver, and you have Washington. Okay. Let's try trading with Washington. So they want to give up their first, they want to give up their second, and they want to give up Strong. That's not going to cut it for me. I mean, Strong looks okay, but I don't think I want him back in this deal. I'll definitely take the first. And I think this is a deal where we can let go of Brady Shea, honestly. And we may as well give him back Eller. So that's 3 assets that they want. Now, this is going to put them way over the cap, it looks like. So we're going to have to do some salary retaining. So we're going to retain 50% of Wennberg's salary for the rest of his contract, which is obviously only 1 year. And we'll do the same for Shea. And we will be getting back 2 first-round picks. And this guy, Johnny Ben-Dahan, he's 20 years of age, 79 overall. He's a playmaker. He already looks pretty good offensively. He hasn't had any NHL experience, so I don't have anything to go off of as far as that goes. Like whether he'll actually be successful in the NHL or not, I don't know. But I figured he's worth taking a gamble on because, like I said, he already has some pretty good offensive stats. And if he can, by chance, develop into that number 1 center that we need, that'd be great. He's certainly a good asset to have in this deal. He's a good skater. He has good offensive instincts already. So I don't see why we shouldn't take a chance on him. So we're getting a piece back for now, and we're getting 2 pieces of the future. Well, technically 3 pieces of the future, but 1 is able to play for us right now. As for why I'm including Shea in this deal, like I said, I don't see him as a part of the future. And with not being in the playoffs 2 years in a row, well, more than likely anyway, I think he would be better off as just a trade asset at this point. So that's why we're sending him to Washington along with Lars Eller, who obviously is 34 years of age. And as a veteran of the 4th line, that is also comprised of veterans, I don't see much of a need for him. And he also has quite a bit of trade value as we look at Eller here. He has quite a bit of trade value to his name. So I would rather that not go to waste. So Wennberg, Shea, and Eller for 2 first-round picks and Johnny Ben-Dahan. I mean, this is undoubtedly one of the biggest trades so far this GM mode, if not the biggest, at least in terms of the amount of value that's on the table. So here we go. Proposed trade, and it will work. There it is. Trade accepted on behalf of the Washington Capitals. We consider it a done deal. So there it is, boys. We now have a pretty big void to fill, but you can guarantee I was not going to be re-signing Alexander Wennberg at that price tag. That was just ridiculous. He's out of his mind. If a player like that is asking for that much money, I'm sorry. That's just too much. So what we'll do, I think I might have to throw Ben-Dahan into the fire here. Yeah, I think I might have to just see how Ben-Dahan handles the first line. I don't know if I want... I mean, Hintz would be serviceable there for sure. But the thing with Ben-Dahan is that his line chemistry on line 2 isn't great. So I feel like he would struggle there. And then giving him less ice time, that would only give him less points. And being with a shooter like Aronson and then a player like Richie as well, who's been phenomenal this year so far, I feel like Ben-Dahan would really benefit from playing on the first line. Now, of course, I could be completely wrong and his growth might be stunted, but if he does get a lot of points, then that could also potentially speed up his growth. So with that being said, I don't want to do anything else too drastic at this trade deadline because, I mean, obviously the change we just made is drastic enough already. And for a young team, I think guys like Palat and Janssen are worth holding on to, even if just to help guys like Rosehill develop and Ben-Dahan. Now, in the offseason, it might be a different story. We might trade Palat, we might trade Janssen, But we weren't forced to trade these guys now because they have multi-year deals. Whereas with Shea and with Wennberg, they were on one-year deals. So I kind of had to either sign them or trade them. And ultimately, especially with Wennberg, you can guarantee I wasn't signing him to a $15 million deal. So he had to be traded. And as for Shea, I would have liked to keep him on board. But again, his age was kind of a determining factor in shipping him out. And I think with this defensive core, it's going to take a couple more years for us to really be consistently competitive. Because once again, the only real permanent fixture on this back end is Ralph Stillman at the moment. So there you go. The change has been done. I wanted to do something drastic because if we didn't do something drastic and we just held on to Wennberg, that would only end up in us losing value. Because there's really no chance of us, even if we kept Wennberg, there would have been no chance of us making the playoffs this year anyway. And with how competitive our division is, when you consider teams like the Maple Leafs, the Senators, the Sabres, all those teams are very, very good. I mean, very good. It's going to be tough keeping up with them, really, for the rest of the GM mode. Because when you take a look at all those teams, so we'll start out with Buffalo here. I mean, obviously, they have Eichel, they have Milstad, they have Reinhart, they have Cousins. That's just at forward. And then on defense, they have Dahlin, Ristolainen. It's going to be hard keeping up with these guys. Now, they don't have a goaltender, but still, they have the foundation to where they can be very, very threatening, really, for the rest of the GM mode. If we take a look at Ottawa, they don't exactly have any studs at forward yet, as far as overall goes, but they do have Stützle, they have Tkachuk, and they just in general have a lot of forward depth. And when you take a look at their defensive core, Shabbat, Tambellini, Brandstrom, Telquist, Schwartz. This is a really good defensive core, and it's young too. So there is absolutely no way that we're going to be able to keep up with these guys if they just keep stacking up their defensemen and eventually forwards as well like this, you know? So Ottawa really honestly worries me. So does Buffalo. And if we take a look at Toronto, they obviously have Marner, they have Matthews, they have Tavares, who's still really good. They have Nylander, they have Engvall. And a look at their defensive core, they have Liljegren. I was at the point where if we didn't do something drastic, then I had a really good feeling that this is going to likely be the case for the next few years if we didn't do something like that. Like, we're constantly going to be below the Maple Leafs, the Senators, the Sabres, and even the Panthers and the Lightning. Like, they're all very good teams. And the majority of those teams are very young as well. I mean, besides the Lightning, they're kind of aging at this point, but still, this division worries me. So that's why I went out and acquired those 2 Washington first rounders, as well as Ben DeHaan. And if you take a look at our draft picks now, we have 4 first round picks in the draft this year, and we also have 2 next year. So we are set when it comes to first round picks. I would hope at least 1 or 2 of them ends up being a solid fixture for us on the back end, because that's really what I'm looking for. And of course, I'm also looking for a first-line playmaker now. But I don't think Wennberg would have been that long-term fixture anyway. So that all being done, I think we're just going to go with these lines. Hopefully Ben DeHaan can handle the first line well. He's also on the first-line power play, so he's getting all the chances he needs to really be effective offensively and really grow. Although I don't think I'll have him on the penalty kill. Yeah, I'm definitely not having him on the penalty kill. So that all being done, we're going to simulate past the trade deadline and just see what happens. I'm gonna guess we're gonna miss the playoffs, but who knows? I guess miracles can happen sometimes. So we have ended the season 39, 28, and 15. Honestly, our final record wasn't even that bad. We finished with 93 points. It's just our division is so competitive that, I mean, I knew there wasn't a very good chance we would make it. We made it within 7 points of the Senators, so I guess that's a success, but I just have a gut feeling that this is how the division is going to be for the rest of the GM mode, just based off how the Maple Leafs and the Sabres and the Senators are all built. It would be tough if we continued on the trajectory that we were going on. So that's why I felt like I had to do something drastic in order to secure our future. And it appears that our guy, Ben DeHaan, actually got injured at one point. But he did finish, you know what? He finished the season with 10 assists in 17 games. Very nice. And honestly, that's about what I was expecting out of him. He was 50% on faceoffs. He had 26 hits as a playmaker in 17 games. So, honestly, good season. Good rookie, well, I guess not a full rookie season, but a good first showing for Johnny Ben DeHaan, for sure. Look at Derek Bentley in the AHL, dude. This guy is amazing. 36 points in his rookie season on the back end, for the Prague Paladins, plus 31. And by the way, none of those, and I mean none of those, were power play points either. He didn't have any power play points. That is 36, well, not even strength points. He had 2 shorties. So 34 even strength points for Derek Bentley. And as we take a look, he had 156 hits, 123 blocks, and an even takeaway giveaway ratio. This guy's amazing down there in the AHL. I really hope he pans out. He's going to be special if he does. So look at the final team stats for the season. We're in the bottom half of the division, even though we score 3.32 goals for per game. This is what I'm saying. You know, this division is way too good to just not do anything about players that don't want to resign, and not only that, but want too much money in a season where we're not even in the top half of the division. It's just that wasn't happening. And then with goals against per game, we're down there in the bottom half of the division with a 3.12. So our defense could obviously be much better. Our goaltending wasn't great this season either. Power play was very good, actually, in the top half of the division, 23.8. And the penalty kill was also pretty good. In fact, it was second in the division with an 82.8. It's just the rest of our division is so good that we just fall short. And like I said, I think that's how it's going to be for the rest of the GM mode. Like, we are going to be in tough competition with basically all these teams above us. Maybe not Tampa Bay for long, because obviously they have a pretty old team when you consider Stamkos, Kucherov, all those guys. But Toronto, Buffalo, Ottawa, Florida, they will all consistently be up here for the rest of the GM mode. Now, taking a look at our player stats, Devin Aronson with a 54-goal season, he was certainly great for us. I mean, obviously, he probably could have gotten 60 if we hadn't traded away Wennberg. 120 hits, he was certainly a physical force this season. Okay with the takeaway giveaway ratio, so I cannot complain from Devin Aronson. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me to eventually see him score 60. He has the talent to do it. He certainly does. Nick Ritchie with 77 points. He's getting better and better every season for us. Roope Hintz been very consistent throughout his career here so far. He had 51 points at year number 1, 45, 50, 55. Just a very consistent second liner. Nemestikov with 54. Danielson with 54, 34 goals. 50 for Janssen, 41 for Taves on the fourth line. Palat with 40. Rosehill with 31. Good rookie season for him. Keith, Little, Larson, all these guys. Stillman with 19 points, 12 goals in his rookie season. Once again, Ben DeHaan with 10 assists in 17 games. Hopefully he can carry that into next season and become even better. And in goal, Demko with an unfortunate save percentage, 897. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but if he has another save percentage like this next year, then we might have to think about trading. And the playoffs are complete, and the Stanley Cup champions are the Edmonton Oilers, and the Calder Cup goes to the Manitoba Moose. And the draft order, San Jose, LA, Columbus, the Islanders, Chicago, Montreal, Detroit, and your Czeching Lions through the Colorado Avalanche, actually. And then Philadelphia, Anaheim, Rangers, Boston, Carolina, Vancouver, and us through Nashville. So then where was our pick? Were we like, are we sitting at 16? We must be. The Stanley Cup goes to Edmonton. The Presidents goes to Toronto for the third year in a row. And it was Edmonton versus New Jersey in the final. Individual awards, the Art Ross goes to Marner. The Hart goes to Marner. The Norris goes to Pietrangelo. The Lady Byng goes to Sagan. The Calder goes to Steen. That makes sense. The Conn Smythe goes to McDavid. The Vezina goes to Vasilevsky. The Jennings goes to Crawford. The Masterton goes to Logan Stanley. The Jack Adams goes to Gagnon of the St. Louis Blues for the second year in a row. The Selke goes to Couturier. The Ted Lindsay Award goes to Marner. And the Maurice Richard goes to Kucherov. Retirements, you have Spezza, you have Taves, so we no longer have Jonathan Taves to utilize. Good career for him. Stasny, Krejci, Brown, Steen, Foligno, Bufflin, Ladd, Opozo, Simmons, Bozak, Dubinsky, Gagne, Edler. And then in goal you have Lundqvist, Miller, Smith, Schneider, McElhaney, Ramo, Hutchinson, Condon, Hammond. And with that, we are at the draft, but I think I'll save that for next time. So with that, I'll end it off here, and I'll see you guys in the next one when we do the offseason of year number 4. See you guys then.